guys, part 2 of 10-6. So these are the actual types of problems that you're going to have to solve in this section. So anytime we're asked to find sine, cosine, and tangent, the first thing you should write down on your paper is SOHCAHTOA. So remember, this is sine, which stands for opposite over hypotenuse, cosine, which stands for adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent, which stands for opposite over adjacent. So in question number 4, we need to find the sine, cosine, and tangent of angle A. So we just focus on angle A. So for angle A, well, we have a missing side, and I'm going to need it for some of these because from here, opposite isn't there. So in order to get this opposite side, I have to start with the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. So I need to solve it. So I'm going to say 8 squared plus b squared equals 17 squared. Equals whatever 17 squared is. So that's 289. And when I solve it, I get b squared equals 225. The square root of 225 should be 15. Yes. Okay, so my missing side was 15. So in order to do sine, I need opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite is 15, hypotenuse is 17. So equals 15 over 17. And I'm going to leave it at that. That's what the sine is. If you wanted to divide it, you could, but you'd have to go out 4 decimal places, just like we did in the last video. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So from A, adjacent is 8, hypotenuse is 17. So 8 over 17, and again, just leave it. If you want to divide it, don't forget you have to go out 4 decimal places. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So from here, opposite is 15, adjacent is 8. And that's how you do that one. Okay, so when you're asked to solve the right triangle, solving the right triangle means getting all angle measurements and all side measurements. So looking at this triangle, first of all, it doesn't really look like a right triangle, but sometimes that happens. So again, as long as it has a right angle, it's a right triangle. So that means this is your hypotenuse. So the first thing that's the easiest thing to get is this missing angle, because if this one's 90 and this one's 67, add them all up, subtract from 180, and you're going to get the missing side. So the missing angle, not side, is 23 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to use that, and from there, I'm going to try to get this side or this side. I can't use the Pythagorean theorem because I only have one side they're only giving me one side. You only can use the Pythagorean theorem if you have 2 sides. So you have to choose to get either this side or this side. Doesn't matter which. So I'm going to choose to get this side. So that means since I'm looking for this side, that's where my variable is going to be. That's where my unknown is. So what do I have? Well, I have this angle. So from this angle, I have an opposite and I have an adjacent. So which one of these is opposite and adjacent? Well, opposite and adjacent is tangent, so I'm going to use tangent. So tangent of 23 equals, opposite is my x, adjacent is the 22. And I need to solve it. So technically, it's a proportion. So if I cross multiply, I get x equals 22 times the tangent of 23. This whole thing I could put into my calculator, and this is where the blue calculators work well. So I'm going to do 22 tangent 23, close your parentheses, and what do we get? So when we're looking for a side length, and this is the important thing, if you're just looking for a side length, you round to the nearest tenth like always. If they're telling you to find the sine, cosine, or tangent of something, then you go out the 4 decimal places. All right, so when I round, I get x equals 9.3. So this side length is 9.3. From here, since you have 2 sides, you can use the Pythagorean theorem if you want, or you can use another trigonometric ratio. I'm going to choose to use another trigonometric ratio just so that you can see another example on how you do it. Okay, so from here, again, now I'm looking for this one. So you could use the 67 if you want, or you can use the 23 if you want. It doesn't matter. You don't ever use the 90 though. You only use the other two. So from here, what am I looking for now? I'm looking for adjacent and hypotenuse. I have hypotenuse. So adjacent and hypotenuse is cosine. So now I'm going to do the cosine of 23 degrees. So adjacent is what I'm looking for, so that's my x now, over 22, which is your, that's wrong, that's not hypotenuse. So this one is the hypotenuse. So it's going to be hypotenuse and adjacent, so I have it in the wrong order. So let's do that over again. So the cosine of 23, adjacent is the 22. So 22 over the missing side, which is the hypotenuse. So now to solve that, cross multiply, I get x cosine 23 equals 22. To get the x by itself, divide by cosine 23. On your calculator, you have to do 22 divided by cosine 23, close your parentheses, and since it's a side length, round to the nearest tenth, it's going to be 23.9. So this side length is 23.9 units. Did I solve the whole right triangle? Yes. I have all three side measurements and all three angle measurements. Okay, there's one more question left after that. So the last question has to do with finding an angle measurement. Okay, so on that right triangle, so on that one, it says find the angle measurement of B using trigonometric ratios. So this is the angle that I'm looking for. So when I have an unknown angle, sometimes they call it theta. So I'm looking to see, how do I get this angle? So I'm focusing on this angle and I try to figure out, what did they give me? So from here, I have opposite and I have adjacent. Which one of these has opposite and adjacent? It's tangent. So now I'm not just finding the tangent, I'm finding the inverse tangent. So if you have a blue calculator, when you're hitting the second PRB and all of the different ratios come up, the second one that's next to it has a -1. That means inverse. So you use inverse when you're looking for an angle measurement. You use the regular if you're looking for a side. So I'm finding the inverse tangent. So again, tangent is opposite over adjacent. So it's going to be 4/7. So all you do is you hit second PRB, scroll over to inverse tangent, hit enter, and put 4 divided by 7, close your parentheses, and we're going to round it to the nearest tenth because it's an angle. So 29.7 degrees. So the measure of angle B is 29.7 degrees. So you use the inverses for angle measurement, you use the regular ones for a side measurement.